At the 2024 Paris Olympic Games, Julien Alfred made history for Saint Lucia, winning Olympic gold in the 100-meter dash in 10.72 seconds. Now, I've personally had Julien on my radar since about early 2020 when she ran about 7.10 seconds in the 60-meter dash indoors as just a sophomore at Texas. But after her immaculate 2022 season where she broke the NCAA record in the 60 indoors, she won the NCAA 100-meter title outdoors, won Commonwealth Games silver in the 100, and made it all the way to the World Championship semifinals in Eugene, at that point, I had made a video saying that Julien had the potential to become St. Lucia's first ever world or Olympic medalist in the 100-meter dash. Now, we obviously all know what she did in 2023, where she broke the 60-meter NCAA record, an infinite amount of times. She broke the indoor, 200-meter record as well, won NCAA indoors and outdoors in both of the sprint events, along with a couple relay accolades as well. But by the end of her time at Texas, she was very likely, if not guaranteed, the best NCAA sprinter in women's history. Shout out to my boy Coach Rob.
Right. The greatest women's sprinters of the decade. I'm going to skip to the bottom line already. Julien Alfred, next question.
Then, once she signed a pro contract with Puma Outdoors, she went on to finish 5th and 4th in the 100 and 200 respectively at the Budapest World Championships in 2023. But now, we're here in 2024. This is Julien's first full year as a pro, and she had one of the most legendary seasons, winning indoor 60-meter gold, Olympic 100-meter gold, and Olympic 200-meter silver, along with becoming the 8th fastest woman in history. She literally became a national hero, winning St. Lucia's first ever Olympic medal in any sport.
Just celebrating my country, Earlier on, after the Olympics, I would say, I was talking about going home, but I think it didn't really sink in yet that I was actually going to go home and celebrate because I'm still trying to finish the season and focus on my races. But now I'm just looking forward to just going home and, seeing my friends, seeing my family, seeing my people again, and just celebrating and just getting a chance to relax after this long season.
But so today, instead of just breaking down Julien's career and her 2024 season, I wanted to start by looking backwards a bit and getting a better understanding of St. Lucia's history in the sport, highlighting the tiny island's representation at the Olympic Games, talk about some of the first athletes to compete for the country on the global stage, and recognize the path that they carved out and the foundation that they laid for Julien to become St. Lucia's national hero that we know her as today. Now, first off, St. Lucia, unfortunately, like most other Caribbean nations, has been colonized for most of its modern history. It was very unique, though, in that control of the nation frequently switched between British and French, apparently with the two countries fighting multiple times over control for the island. Now, the Caribs, who were the natives to the island at one point, had successfully fought off the colonizers multiple times throughout its history, but they eventually did fall to the French in the 1650s. Fast forward to 1814 though, and the British eventually took full control over the island from the French. So why am I telling you all this history? Well, Great Britain, they colonized a ton of nations across the entire world. And throughout the 20th century, when not only the Olympics were becoming more prominent, but also more colonized nations were getting the opportunity to actually compete at the games, many of these British colonies in the Caribbean were also getting the opportunity to get some representation at the Olympic Games. Most notably, you have Jamaica, Trinidad and Tobago. Though they were still British colonies, they competed at 3 Olympic Games between 1948 and 1956. But in 1960, a political union was formed that included various Caribbean nations that were actually part of the British Empire. Countries like Jamaica, Trinidad and Tobago, but then also Barbados, the Cayman Islands, and a bunch of others. They all came together to form what was called the West Indies Federation. As you could probably guess, St. Lucia was part of the federation as well. At the 1960 Olympic Games, athletes from these nations had representation under one flag and federation that was actually called the British West Indies. So despite being a tiny island, this could have been the first chance for St. Lucia to actually send some athletes to compete on the biggest stage for the first time. But that would not be the case. Though athletes from multiple Caribbean nations like Jamaica, Trinidad and Tobago, they actually represented the British West Indies at the 1960 Olympics, but no St. Lucian athlete would be there, relegating them to an unknown future date for them to actually make their Olympic debut. Now, fast forward throughout the 60s and the 70s, many of these Caribbean nations actually started to gain independence from Great Britain, and that included Jamaica in 1960, Trinidad and Tobago in 1962, Barbados in 1966, even Grenada and Dominica in 1974 and 1978, respectively. St. Lucia didn't become an independent nation until 1979. And now, while many of these other nations, they actually started sending athletes to the Olympics in the 60s, 70s, and 80s, St. Lucia's first athlete didn't touch the track at an Olympic Games until 17 years after independence in 1996. At those 1996 Olympics, a total of 6 athletes, 5 men, 1 woman, they competed in the 400, 4x4, pole vault, and the 100-meter dash. But though none of them actually advanced out of the opening rounds, they made history and laid the foundation for what was to come. Now, one of those first St. Lucian athletes was Dominique Johnson in the pole vault. Though Dominique never actually won an Olympic or world medal, he did notably win St. Lucia's first ever Commonwealth Games medal with a pole vault bronze in 2002. Now, this was very, very notable because though it wasn't at the Olympics or Worlds, it did show that St. Lucia could one day truly become a competitive country on the global stage. Well, after 1996 and the 4 subsequent Olympic Games in 2000, 2004, 2008, and 2012, St. Lucia maintained a pretty solid contingent of about 1 to 3 track and field athletes competing at each of the games. But unfortunately, they still failed to advance out of any opening round heats. In the midst of that though, there was a rising star by the name of Levern Spencer in the high jump who was making some serious waves as a youth and a junior, as well as regionally at the CAC Championships, CAC Games, and Pan American Games. One of Levern's most notable accomplishments was in 2007 when she made the World Championship final in the women's high jump, finishing 15th overall. Now, though you might say that the 15th is nothing to celebrate, this was notable as it would be the start of a string of appearances in global finals, including outdoors in 2013 and 15, as well as indoors in 2014, 16, and 2018. In the midst of that, Levern won a bronze medal at the 2010 Commonwealth Games, matching what Dominique Johnson had done 8 years earlier in 2002 for St. Lucia. Levern will follow that up in 2014 with another Commonwealth bronze, and then go 2 steps further in 2018, winning the Commonwealth Games gold medal in the high jump, the first ever for St. Lucia. Now, at the 2008 and 2012 Olympics, though Levern did fail to make the high jump final, she would once again break barriers when, in 2016, she became the first athlete from St. Lucia to ever make an Olympic final in any event. Not only did she finish 6th place in the final, but she was just a few misses away from actually ending up on that podium. Again, I know that on the surface a 6th place at the Olympics may not seem significant, but think of all the athletes who competed at the games since 1996 and failed to make it past the first round for St. Lucia. Think of what Dominique and Levern did through their careers by bringing up a small nation into the conversation alongside literally some of the largest countries in the world. When you see these athletes consistently competing to the best of their ability, they literally serve as an inspiration for the next generation of athletes to follow in their footsteps, literally showing them what is actually possible. Without Dominique competing at that first Olympics in 1996 or even winning the Commonwealth Games bronze in 2002, you may not get Levern actually making St. Lucia's first Olympic final in 2016, later winning Commonwealth gold in 2018. And then, of course, without Levern's accomplishments, you may not get the Julien Alfred that we know today. Now, when Levern was ending off her career in 2021 at her 4th Olympic Games in Tokyo, Julien was stepping onto the scene as one of the greatest sprinters in the world. As I noted at the top, Julien had an extremely successful career in the NCAA while at the University of Texas, winning 5 NCAA titles, breaking a plethora of NCAA records, and competing at both the 2022 and 2023 World Championships. Remember when Levern Spencer finished 15th in the high jump final at the 2007 World Championships? Well, that was just the first step. But then Julien took it up another level, finishing 5th and 4th place in the 100 and 200 respectively at the 2023 World Championships. Now, fast forward to 2024, and she was now a very, very strong threat to medal at St. Lucia's, 8th appearance at the Olympic Games? But prior to that, Julien would first make history at the top of the year, winning her country's first ever world title with a gold medal in the 60-meter dash at the World Indoor Championships.
I don't know how they're behaving right now, I would say, but I'm sure they're happy, their first medal, and I've been dreaming for such a long time to come out here and give my country their first ever medal, and I just feel so happy, so overwhelmed, and ecstatic right now.
Honestly, this just set the stage and set the tone for what was to come later through the year. Enter the outdoor season, and she had a 100-meter best of 10.81 seconds and a 200 best of 21.91 seconds. But that would become old news in just a matter of months. First off, in the 100, Julien ran 10.78 seconds at the Racers Grand Prix in June. Then in July at the London Diamond League, she would drop a 200-meter time of 21.86 seconds, again improving her personal best in the event. Both these performances put her not only in the conversation for a medal, but specifically in that 100, Julien was looking like a serious threat to potentially win that gold. Well, enter those 2024 Olympic Games in Paris, France, and Julien would shock the world by not only winning the 100-meter Olympic gold, but did it in pouring rain and setting a massive personal best of 10.72 seconds, making her the 8th fastest woman in history. She would then cap off her Olympics with a silver in the 200, walking away from Paris with 2 medals around her neck. Just pause and think about what Julien did for a second. Saint Lucia had only first stepped foot at the Olympics in 1996, less than 5 years before Julien was even born. Prior to 2024, athletes like Dominique Johnson and Levern Spencer, they slowly chipped away towards success for their country in the sport. Levern's 6th place in 2016 showed that a medal was very possible, but not quite there yet. But building on that foundation that was laid for her, in Julien's first opportunity competing at the Olympic Games, she not only brought home St. Lucia's first ever medal, it was a gold medal. Think back to 1960 when they were part of the British West Indies but lacked any athletic representation. Think back to 1979 when they finally became an independent nation. Think back to 1996 when they finally stepped foot at their Olympic Games. Think back to 2002 when Dominique was winning Commonwealth Games bronze. Think back to 2016 when Levern Spencer made the Olympic final in the high jump. Julien is a product of all the hard work that generations of athletes from St. Lucia put in before she came here, all with the goal of one day standing on top of that podium. And let's be real, Julien Alfred is just getting started. Thanks for watching.